From the soundstage of the digital media classroom here at Wellington High School, the Patricia Lindley Center for the Performing Arts and the Wellington Music Store presents Dialogue with the Dukes. I'm your host, Bill Berger, and all of this semester we've been talking with different representatives of all the sports teams here at Wellington High School. And here we are almost at the end of the fall sports season, and we have the volleyball team, which we're going to highlight today. On my immediate right, we have Lindsey, Gott, and on my immediate left, we have McKenna. Thank you very much, ladies, for coming in and talking about volleyball and what's been happening, because the season's almost over. In fact, the regular season is over, and we're going into the OHSAA tournament this week. But before we talk about what's been going on this week and this year so far, we want to talk a little bit about last year. And since we did, in fact, interview these two young ladies 2 years ago when they were sophomores, now they're seniors. So there's a big difference, I think, between being sophomores and being a senior. I think not only within the team, but also, obviously, growing up. I'm going to ask the first question to both of you, and that is, we'll start with Lindsey. What position do you play on the volleyball team? What is the role that you play? And being a senior, how does that impact the way the team goes?
Well, I play libero, and the role is to play defense. I basically run all of the defense, and that benefits the team, that helps the team, because I have to be the first one to contact the ball so we can set up a play. So if our girls, including myself, aren't where we need to be positioned on the court, we can't start any kind of play. So I think that knowing where we need to be on the court and communicating that to everyone else is the biggest role of a libero or a defensive player. Well,
we are going to talk about communication a little later, but how do you actually, now I've noticed that some coaches actually stand on the sidelines and they have their little clipboard up and they go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, Coach Fell doesn't do that. And by the way, Coach John Fell is the coach of the volleyball team. How do you actually communicate to the girls if we don't have numbers or anything like that as to what positions they're supposed to be playing?
Well, it just depends on where the ball is being hit from the other side of the court. So from right side, middle, and outside hit, we all have different positions where we need to be to receive the hit.
See, I've been watching volleyball for how many years here, and I didn't know that. So I just learned something. Well, same question to you, McKenna. Your position, what position do you have? What role do you actually play on offense or defense? And being a senior, how has that changed over the years?
So I'm the setter. So I would say my main role is to run the offense, just kind of telling each hitter what type of set they're going to get, what they're going to hit, making sure that we're hitting it to the spots on the court for the other team that we need to, but also at the same time making sure that I'm playing defense, making sure the defense is getting the ball up to me so I can get it to the hitters and run the offense. And my role, just as overall as a senior on the team this year, is just to make sure that everyone is having fun. We're not really getting down on each other. We're all staying up, working together to win matches and games.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, I've watched you now for at least 3 years. How do you know? I mean, to me, you've got the perfect setup, for the assist. But how do you know whether you're going to be going over your head or going forward? And how do you communicate that to your players? Or do they know, or they just watch the ball?
Well, before each play, I'll tell them. I'll be like, okay, Brooke, you're running this set. Morgan, you're running this set. Bella, you're running this set. And when we go, as long as I get a good pass, they should be yelling what they want to hit, and then I can set to whoever I want, and then they're just ready for the ball.
Again, something that I didn't know about, having watched you, both of you, for at least 3 years, though. Lindsey, last year the team was 7-12 overall. They were 4-10 for 6th place in the Lorain County League. What changed? Because this year we know we did a whole lot better, which we'll be talking about a little later on. But what changed this year? What was the difference?
I think this year our senior leadership was by far the best I've ever seen in all 4 years, including the year that I didn't play varsity. I just think that we got used to each other, playing with each other enough, and we were able to lead the underclassmen as well because they played an important role, and they kind of accepted the senior leadership, whereas like in previous years we might have not accepted certain people leading. I think this year it was a total group effort. I don't think there was any part of the team at all that didn't put in any effort.
Well, that's a good point, and it kind of transitions into your question, McKenna. We lost 6 seniors last year, a large part of the team. How did we actually recover? Was it something that just happened, or maybe, like Lindsey said, well, maybe they didn't accept the senior leadership, now they're maybe accepting senior leadership more. So how did the team recover from losing so many players to graduation?
Well, I definitely think that the underclassmen that filled the senior spots. They played together on JV, and some of them even went and played together like on travel JO teams and stuff. So I think that really helped for them to come up to varsity and be able to play with us. And at the same time, like the seniors that are now, like Lindsey said, were really pushing and leading. And so I think it just makes those underclassmen coming up feel more comfortable and like confident in themselves playing when we're all confident in them also.
Yeah, that's in my opinion, that's certainly a big difference between how the team communicates and maybe there's spirit involved too, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Lindsey, what do you think the biggest challenge was this year versus last year?
The biggest challenge for us this year was ourselves, really. It was being able to accept the fact that we can go far in tournaments, we can have a winning season. Like you said, our environment changed a lot in the past year. So I think the biggest challenge was learning how to play together and keep rolling like we were. I think that it was important for us in every single match that we played to not make our own mistakes and to force the other team to play against us and force a good game instead of getting down on ourselves and not being able to compete. I think this year we competed the best we ever have.
Well, I'm going to pull a question on you that we didn't talk about. Do you think that the COVID pandemic had anything to do with how we played that last year versus this year?
I think it did. I think the limited fans was kind of a downer sometimes, or it might have felt, I'd say, more redundant in the past year because it was the same people. It was, you had to follow all these rules, and that can really take a toll on your mental game, which is the most important part of any sport you play, including volleyball, of course, is your mental attitude and how you bring yourself onto the court. So I think, it could have had a lot to do with the last year and how this year it was better, and it bolstered our spirits knowing that we'll have fans and not have to follow as many rules. I think that did help too.
Well, certainly the pandemic is still around. We're still wearing masks. We're still social distancing. How does that play into now? We've already talked a little bit about communication. Now, how does that communicate with the entire team? And how does that kind of get into the spirit of what we're actually doing when we're actually playing the match?
Well, I think that especially how you brought up the pandemic, after having the pandemic last year and seeing just how easily like someone's season can be taken, we all just want to come out this year and play as hard as we can, have as much fun as we can. Like we just want to talk with each other. The seniors want to be able to lead for our last year getting to play volleyball here. And I think all the underclassmen just wanted to have a good season for the seniors and for all of us. So we all just try to stay like high in spirits. We talked a lot about being like new Wellington. So in previous years, like Lindsey said, Wellington would have beat themselves and made our own mistakes to let other teams win. Where this year we focused on keeping each other up in spirits, like just playing our game with each other and making the other team make theirs. Just playing as new Wellington.
Well, again, I'm going to ask a question that we didn't talk about, but okay, let's say that we lose the first set, or maybe even first 2 sets. How do we come back? And we have done that this year, where we have lost the first or maybe first 2 sets, and we've come back and won 3-2. Another good example is I believe this year we split with Black River. They won at home, but we won at our place. So how do you actually keep that spirit up, even if we've lost? You kind of brought it up a little bit. Maybe in the past we might have gotten down or something like that. How do you keep that spirit up?
Well, it's definitely from our senior leadership. in the past, if we would have gotten down the first set or the first two sets, nobody was really there to step up and say, let's go, like, we're winning this match. But now, like, not even just seniors, just all of our leaders on the team, the whole varsity team overall is like full of leaders. So people will step up and say, we know we can beat this team. We know that we're just beating ourselves right now. So let's make them make the errors, be New Wellington, and let's beat this team instead of letting Wellington beat Wellington.
Well, I've noticed from the sidelines that especially one particular person, an underclassman, who is often, when you all are in the huddle, she's often, I won't say getting in somebody's face, but she's pointing and things like that. Well, that would be Morgan Lemcool. Would you consider her,
Yeah.
even though she's an underclassman, would you consider Morgan as being one of the leaders on this team?
Most definitely. She's always the one that, like, if somebody's down, she's up and saying, come on, let's go, like, we're winning. Or if we just lost a set, she's in the huddle like, look, this is what we need to do. Like, we need to stop beating ourselves, we need to win.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when we come back after this message, we'll be talking about what's been going on this year and how well the team has been doing this year and what to look forward to when we go into the OHSAA tournament, which starts this week. We will be back with Dialogue with the Dukes.
Scent Depot is the best place for you to find a variety of bath cosmetics such as bath bombs, sugar scrubs, bath salts, shower bombs, and quality soaps made from goat's milk. Candles and waxes can also be purchased from our store. We have a nice selection of lip balms, perfect for the winter season, and also a nice arrangement of gift baskets for loved ones or for coworkers.
We've been talking with Lindsey Gott and McKenna Chapel and how well it's actually what it has done in the past, and now we want to talk about how well we have done so far this year. So Lindsey, you get the first question. So far, we are 14-8 overall. We're 9-5 in the conference. That's a huge improvement from last year. I believe that Mr. Bowman, the athletic director, said that this is the first time in almost 20 years that we have had such a good volleyball record. We are in third place, what do you owe the success to this year versus, say, last year and previous years going back almost 20 years?
Yeah.
And has there been a culture change?
There has definitely been a change in culture, and I'd say that what we owe our success to is the change within ourselves. I think that what helped us win so many games this year was the change in our confidence. Winning games, and we had a really busy summer. I mean, we competed a lot this summer, and that helped with our confidence, helped build our trust in our team, and I think that just pushed us right into the regular season, and it really did a lot, and that changed the environment, it changed our attitudes about volleyball, and I think it changed other teams' attitudes too, because when we showed up, they weren't expecting much because of what had happened in previous years, but I think that we created a new system of volleyball within the season, and that definitely helped change the whole environment.
Do you think you surprised some teams?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yes, for sure.
That's good. Well, McKenna, we know that I mentioned that we took third place. We know that Brookside and Firelands were the class of the LCA. I think they ended the regular season with records, both having records of 13-1. So yes, they're certainly main rivals. But let's go back. Let's talk about other rivals. What teams do you actually like? Look at. You look at the schedule and say, "Oh, I can't wait to play them." Are there any rivals specifically, other than Brookside and Firelands? Are there any rivals that you really, really like to beat?
Yeah, I think definitely as a team, our main rival that we'd like to beat on our schedule is LaGrange, just because LaGrange is our biggest rival for all sports, and we haven't really beat them in my 4 years of high school. I don't think we beat them in volleyball all 4 years. Like, they always just come in and they expect to beat us, and they think it's going to be an easy game, and they think they're just going to blow right through it. And so when we went to Keystone this year and we played them and we won in 5 sets, like, that really just shocked them. And then when they came to our place, they thought for sure they were going to beat us. Like, no way they should lose to a Wellington again. And then they were up 2 sets and we ended up coming back and winning again.
That's right.
And that's just such an exciting game, especially being down 2 sets and then coming back and winning. And especially our big rival. Like, we had a big student section, they had students. It was just a really intense rivalry. and I would say that's our biggest rival.
That's one thing when we go to Keystone. Now, I haven't gone to any away games now for the last 2 years because of the pandemic. But they always have a great student section right behind one of the baskets, and when we're playing basketball, or right behind some team when you're playing volleyball. And yet this year, well, actually the last 3 years, especially the football players, they come in and cheer for us. That's got to be a big lift to the team. Would you not agree?
Yeah, for sure. I think that when our student section comes in and they're just loud and getting excited, not only does it mess with the other team, but it like kind of brings our spirits up and lets us know that everyone in our school and our community is here to support us and cheer us on and knows we can win. So we too just have to like believe we can win.
And in fact, sometimes they get a little bit too rowdy. Our guys get a little bit too rowdy, and Mr. Bowman has to go over there and say, "No, get up into the second row of this." And so, yeah, sometimes it's even a little bit more than, but it's still good. It's a good thing. Well, we have something different, Lindsey. This year, especially. Now, I didn't look back to previous years, but this year especially, we played 8 non-conference games, and we won 5 out of the 8. The fact that they were kind of interspaced in our schedule versus at the beginning, like football, they had the 3 non-conference games right at the beginning. Does that change anything as far as the way that you look at the schedule, and if that does change, how? And then how does it help you, if it does help you, having non-conference games interspaced between the conference games?
Well, non-conference games are usually kind of down on the importance list, but I think that they are a key part of any season, especially volleyball. I think that non-conference games are a great way to work on your team skills because a lot of times you don't know much about the schools that aren't in your conference. So it really is a measure of not what they're going to do to us, but what we can do as a team to grow and what we can do to beat them. I think that non-conference games will help with your confidence and your togetherness as a team, and that definitely showed this year. Being 5-3, we were able to work together and come out on top of some of those games.
Well, McKenna, I mentioned during our last regular season home game that you 5 seniors were standing there, and I said that this is your last match together, home match, I should say, and during the regular season. What did that mean to you and to all 5 seniors? And by the way, let's make sure we mention the 5 seniors. That the other 3 seniors are?
So me and Lindsey, and then Miranda Sorg, Melanie Sokowitz, and Carly Frank.
Exactly. And so what does that mean to the 5 of you girls to be playing your last regular home season game? Regular home season game, however that comes out. You understand what I mean?
I just think that the 5 of us, we've all played since at least 8th grade. Like just coming up into high school, playing all 4 years. Even though we're not all like best friends and don't really like talk a ton outside of volleyball, I just think that playing together so much in volleyball, we've kind of become like a little like pack, little family, because even though we're not really people that would really like converse and talk a lot, like through volleyball, we're always there for each other. Like if someone needs something at school, you go to the volleyball team, or like especially with the underclassmen also, I think like being nervous for starting their first day of high school, or not knowing what to do like in their math class, being nervous to go to a certain class, like we've all just become a family. They can easily just ask like on the upperclassmen or the seniors, and I just think that especially playing our last game, like it was definitely bittersweet, but all of us really came together and worked together as a team to have a successful last game together.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I certainly enjoyed it. I hope that you all did too. Well, we've talked a little bit about the fact that we have not just the 5 seniors, but we have underclassmen too. Yep. What was the importance of all of the underclassmen this year? We've talked about Morgan already, but there's several that underclassmen that have really stepped up this year. The importance of them.
The underclassmen this year, I'd say, like I was saying earlier, took to the senior leadership very well, and that helped the overall team accomplish our goals. There were several starting underclassmen, and it's just great to see them be able to fit into those roles so well, and I think for the next few years that they're going to be good senior leaders just like we were, because they have been in this environment and they have seen an example and know what it's like. And underclassmen help out the seniors a lot too. I think more than they realize. I think it's exciting when we see a younger girl who would typically be nervous or get down on herself easy. It's exciting to see her like really fired up to play, and I think that inspires the seniors too. So the underclassmen just helped gel the team together. They were really a key role in a lot of the things that we did this year.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the starting lineup because Coach Feld did something different this year. He did not want to have maybe the first one or two matches. We had a starting lineup, but as the season wore on, he did not want to have a starting lineup per se listed. He wanted to have certainly all of the 5 seniors mentioned. He wanted to have all of the underclassmen. So we always, when I was doing the announcing, I was always start at the bottom with the freshmen and so on. So, and maybe now, not every match did all the 5 seniors actually start, other than the last senior night game. But they didn't necessarily. So there were support seniors also that maybe did not start, along with some underclassmen that did start. So how did that intermesh, so to speak, between the starting lineup, which I did not mention because I wanted to mention everybody. For lack of a better term, everybody was on equal footing, so to speak. Exactly.
I think it's important too that we mention everyone, even the freshmen, because everyone's playing a role this year in becoming our new Wellington. Not just the seniors. The seniors did take a big part, but everyone, not just the starters, not just the seniors, everyone has taken a role, even the freshmen, in becoming our new Wellington.
And I thought it was really great. The last home game, we got ahead. We were playing New London, a non-conference game, and toward the very end, we actually started substituting and getting the people that play the most out and getting the younger people in, the freshmen and so on. And I imagine that's just got to be a big boost for them. Yeah, exactly. Well, we now, as we've kind of already mentioned a little bit, regular season's over. Now we go into the tournament action. And we are receiving a bye. The first games are going to be playing tonight. The sectional semifinals are going to be playing tonight. So we don't even know for sure who we're actually going to be playing until after tonight. The teams that we are going to be possibly playing are Chippewa and Manchester. Okay, good. I thought that's what you said, but I wanted to make sure it was right. So do you have a prediction as to who might win one of those 2 games? And then whoever we play, prediction for us for Thursday night, the sectional championship.
Well, Chippewa and Manchester both come from pretty tough conferences, as we've seen the other teams in their respective conferences in tournaments or non-conference games over the years. And I'm really not sure who will win tonight in their game. I don't have a prediction because, like I said, I don't know anything about them. But I think that for our game this Thursday, it will definitely be an exciting game because I think I mentioned earlier our confidence was boosted this year because of the winning season and because of the senior leadership. And I think that receiving a bye and coming out with a winning record and being able to, hold our own ground in these tournaments is something that will definitely help us because in previous years we were never able to do that. So I think this Thursday's game will be an exciting one. I'd like to come out on top, and I know we can. I believe in us. So I think that our confidence is definitely going to be the main leading part of this whole tournament season.
And that match is going to be held at Independence High School at 7:30 in the evening. I don't know what the ticket sales or anything like that. I have to ask Mr. Bowen about that. But if you can, come out and support the girls. Hopefully they will win the sectional championship and go on to the districts, which would be wonderful. Something I'm sure that hasn't happened in at least 20 years or at least a while. Exactly. Well, McKenna, it's time for me to brag. It's time for me to brag on you. For people who have gone to the matches this year, we know that, and I can't remember. Do you remember what game it was that you broke the record? What match?
Against Clearview.
Against Clearview, okay. I do know that McKenna broke the all-time Wellington High School record for assists, and that record was 1,074 assists in the time that the young lady was at Wellington High School. You not only beat that record of 1,074, you've blown through it. And still will continue. as best I can figure, you have approximately 1,189, and I'm going to get choked up here, 1,189 assists so far, and you have at least one more game, and we're hoping a whole lot more to do. So what does that record, breaking that record, actually mean to you personally?
Me personally, especially last year, I was injured for half the year, and I got really sick throughout the winter, so I wasn't even sure that I was going to be able to play this year. I wasn't even cleared at the beginning of the season. So being able to come in, and we started off in a 6-2 with 2 setters, and then ended up running a 5-1 with me. So coming in, being able to set for my senior year, and then breaking the school record, just knowing that like my name will always be in the books here, and I'll always be someone that set something here at Wellington. I feel like it just really boosts my confidence, and like, it just makes me proud.
Yeah, well, I think the whole entire team, I think I'm speaking for Lindsey, but I think I'm speaking for the entire team. We're so proud of you and how well that you have done, and just the mere fact that you were out for so long and then be able to come back and set, and like I said, not only set the record, but as we mentioned during one of the football games, my color analyst, Mark Rosemark, mentioned that every time she gets another assist, she breaks the record. So we continue to hope that you will continue to break that record as we go on so far in the game and in the OHSAA tournament. We would once again like to thank Lindsey, Gott, and McKenna Chapel for coming in, talking about the volleyball team, how successful the team has been this year, what led up to the success this year, and hopefully many, many returns for the volleyball team in the coming years. Again, thank you, Lindsey. Thank you, McKenna, especially record holder, Miss McKenna Chapel. We will be back again very soon with another Dialogue with the Dukes. This has been Dialogue with the Dukes. Good day.